Doing all your training indoors. Ooh, no thanks, but if you're into that. Anyway, let's play.
What do you think about doing 100% of your training indoors?
What's up guys, another day, another reaction video. Today we're going to be looking at TrainerRoad's TikTok. I have been deep in TrainerRoad's TikTok archive. I found 4 interesting videos. Now, before I sort of start roasting them, no, it's just a bit of fun, but seriously, TrainerRoad have days worth of content in their podcasts and videos and stuff. They do a really good job. So no hate to TrainerRoad. I think they do a really good job in most of the information that they put out. So big ups to them for doing that. But it's no fun looking at all the good stuff they do. So I've picked 4 of their TikToks that I don't exactly agree with. We're going to watch them, see what they say, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on that. So let's jump over to the old TikTok web browser and have a look. So the first one we've got failing workouts. Here's what to do. Hashtag cycling tips, hashtag get faster. Let's give this a play through.
I had a 70 watt FTP increase since November and have broken the 5 watt per kilogram barrier. But now that I'm in specialty, which is the rolling road race plan, I cannot complete my workouts. Why is it normal? Okay, so specialty, for those that don't know, TrainerRoad have a phase sort of approach to their periodization. So base, obvious one, foundation training. The build phase, which is building fitness for a target, and then specialty, which is honing your energy systems for specific events. So this athlete is in a specialty phase. Let me just go back. Barrier. But now that I'm in specialty, which is the rolling road race plan, I cannot complete my workouts. Why is it normal?
One thought that I have is the nutrition differences gaining 70 watts is probably going to be significant. So if you've been fueling the workouts like you did when you were 70 watts less, now you're 70 watts more, the kilojoules you're putting out are crazy high.
Yeah, I agree with that. Agree with Nate there. Good point. If your FTP increases and you're doing more power, it requires more fueling. So if your FTP is, I think 70 watts, that's freaking massive. So if your FTP has actually gone up 70 watts, you need to eat way more carbs throughout your ride. So that's a good point there.
You do this over 4 or 6 weeks, I could see how you could get depleted. So you could do 2 things. If you're failing all the hard workouts, you could just lower your...
Okay. Before I look at their answers, so the athlete said, I've done... My FTP has gone up, I'm in the specialty phase, and I can't do 5 of the workouts I've failed in a row. The first thing I'd say is just make sure the power meter is reading right, or your trainer. If you feel like, if there's something going wrong with your power, and it's not acting like it should in terms of you're constantly failing workouts, just make sure your power meter is reading right. Maybe it's reading a bit low. That's before you start going down all these rabbit holes of fueling and nutrition and stuff like that, make sure that your power is right. So if you have another power meter, confirm it to, or if you're on a trainer, do a spin down if that's possible. I mean, as a coach, that would be the first thing I say, is make sure that you're actually looking at a true, there's actually an issue here and it's just not power's reading low.
Your FTP. Or you could look for easier versions of those workouts.
Okay, and then Nate said, or you could lower your FTP, which is a good point. Now, one of the things with TrainerRoad is they use a ramp test. Nowadays, they use a ramp test to estimate your FTP, which can really overshoot for some athletes. If your anaerobic power is good, or you get really good at the ramp test, it can really overestimate your FTP, because all they're doing is saying, hey, do this ramp test, and then we find most people sit in this range in terms of the result from the ramp test, as I think they use 87% of the peak 1 minute power. But anyway, so they've just estimated that off data from athletes, but not everyone fits in that. So this athlete could have their threshold just set too high, and that's where all the workouts are too hard. So before going down rabbit holes, make sure the threshold's accurate, especially if you've based it off one of their ramp tests. It sounds to me like the threshold's just set too high. Which he's acknowledged. He said you may want to lower your FTP. I think that's probably the first thing to do. Or you could look for easier versions of the workouts. Possibly, but if you're failing the workouts, I would like to think that the workouts are built properly and that they're achievable. If the workouts are just impossible, I'm not sure looking for an easier version of a workout is the right answer. That would indicate to me that the workouts aren't built right. So, not sure on that one.
If you're doing 15 minutes at threshold, maybe look for a 12-minute at threshold, like back off on the progression a little bit.
if you can't do 12-minute effort, if you can't do 15 minutes efforts at threshold, I would say your threshold's probably too high. Obviously, if the session's like 6 by 15, I could sort of see that. But if you're going into a workout that's like 3 by 15 and you can't get through the efforts, your threshold's set too high, in my opinion.
So you're not at that same level, and once you start to get some success, you can start to, eke it back up to where you were. But look at the whole picture, I think.
Key takeaways: lower your FTP slightly. I think that as number one, yep, I'd say it's probably right. But the idea that someone's just like, oh, I think my threshold's too high and I'm just randomly going to lower it so I get the workouts done, that kind of shows that the method, if that's the case for you, I think the method you're using of estimating your FTP is not accurate and you should probably use a different method. Choose marginally easier workouts for 1 to 2 weeks. Yeah, that'll solve the problem, possibly, but it's not fixing the cause, so I'm not sure on that one. Increase fuel to match your workout effort. Yep, good one. If your FTP's gone up, you need to fuel more. I rate that. Let's move on to the next one.
What do you think about doing 100?
Jeez, TikTok always plays the stuff automatically. All right, next one. Does more indoor training make you faster? Our answer is pretty predictable. Hashtag cycling tips, hashtag indoor cycling. Let's have a look. Doing all your training indoors. Ooh, no thanks, but if you're into that. Anyway, let's
What
play.
do you think about doing 100% of your training indoors?
What do
We
you
now have
think?
inside workouts and outside workouts.
Yeah, they're an indoor training company. What do you think they're going to say?
I put down "you'll be fast" as expletive. Lionel Sanders does it. Chad's done it before. He had a great year. I've done it. I got from Cat 5 to Cat 2 in a year with just my outside rides being pretty much only races. The only thing you got to think about is if skills are a limiter to you for either safety or your finish, you need to go practice them.
Great point. I mean, skills are a limiter to pretty much everyone. I don't know anyone that would say their skills are perfect and don't need to be worked on. Especially even if you've got skills right now, if you go and train indoors for 6 months, your skills gonna decline. So it's great that they're bringing that up because it's a really big one.
Those, and then if sprinting is involved, you cannot sprint on the trainer. It is not the same. The technique is weird. Seated sprints are fine, but don't do like regular sprinting. I think you develop bad habits.
Spot on again. Nate's nailed that. Totally agree.
And the last one, environmental conditions. Don't go from AC training to a 100-degree race and expect it to be very good.
Another one, great one. So those are 3 good ones. The only thing I disagree with is the idea that the training on the road is more valuable or effective. Sorry, the training on the trainer is more effective than training on the road. From a time point of view, maybe, but let's not, get into, train on the road, you might have to stop at lights, so it's less effective. For most people, they're going to do less power indoors on the trainer. That's just how it is. Now, whether that's because of the feeling of the trainer and the inertia, or it's an overheating effect because it's hard to stay cool, whatever it is, or a mental effect because it's just hard to get yourself to go that deep on the trainer, whatever it is, in my experience, most people can't match their road power on their trainer. There are some caveats to that. Someone like Jay Vine, because he spent so much time on the trainer, it works for, but that's the first thing. I don't think training on the trainer is more effective. I would actually argue for some people, myself included, it's less effective because I can't do as much power. So then the other point there is he's pointed out, so Lionel Sanders and Chad, Coach Chad, have trained indoors. It's head cracking. I mean, I don't know. There's a few people that have this perfect indoor setup and they love it and it's great. And if that's you, great, keep doing it. But I find for most people, the trainer is a tool to get through certain sessions and then they can go out on the road. And I find this idea that indoor training is more effective I think mentally it might work for a couple of weeks and then it's going to be too hard for most people. So the key takeaway is doing all your training indoors is highly effective. I disagree. If skills are a limiter, be sure to practice on before race day. Yes, but skills take a lot of hours. It's not like you can just do all your training indoors and go out on the road once a fortnight and do some skills training. You need to, if you're not on the bike on the road regularly, it's going to be hard to replicate that. And then consider environmental factors that will change on race day. I agree, and I like it. I'm going to try and plug this camera in for the battery. Where is the charger? Cool, we're back. All right, next video. Again, friggin' TikTok autoplays everything.
How often do I take
Whoa. All right, let's go back. All right, we're looking at here. How often should you be benchmarking your fitness? So how often, now they're looking at this from the ramp test. So quick overview. The classic way and the old way that TrainerRoad used to test FTP was go to a 20-minute test and take 95% of that power. Now they use a ramp test which ramps up every minute. They take your peak 1 minute power from the ramp test, which is your VO2 max power, your maximal aerobic uptake, and then they take, I think the percentage they use is 87% to estimate your FTP. I really disagree with that. So the way they did that, I think, was they sort of took all the data they had and then said, well, most people are around 87%, but a lot of people that will underestimate. So anyway, not too much into that, but they're saying how often should you take a ramp test and test your FTP?
How often do I take the ramp test?
Our standard recommendation is every 4 to 6 weeks, and that's if you're following one of our plans, automatically it's going to be in there. But really, it's just as often as you feel you need it. If you're coming off a break of some kind, it's a great time to do it. If you're starting a plan, it's a great time to do it, and you would definitely want to do it regularly throughout a plan just to benchmark your progress.
I really disagree with that. I mean, I would imagine every 4 weeks you got this maximal ramp test in there. We have to ramp tests are hard. That is like you are pushing to your absolute limit. Imagine doing that once a month. And on the trainer as well. I mean, personally, no thanks. I would not want to do that, and it's not something I would prescribe. Ideally, if you've got a coach or you've switched on with your own training, they should be able to, based on the training session you've done, and if you're doing some racing, they should be able to estimate if your fitness is increased or decreased and give you a rough guide on how you're tracking without actually going and retesting so regularly. So yeah, it's not something with the athletes I work with, I don't get them to test on such a rigid schedule, especially that often, every 4 weeks. Yeah, got to disagree with that. Okay, next one. Similar thing, failing workouts, but this is a different video. So are you failing multiple workouts? Let's have a look.
He says, I've been a TrainerRoad user for 3 years. Recently, I have failed 4 workouts in a row. First thing that I do when I fail a workout is I start to run through that flow chart. How is my sleep? How is my nutrition? How is the life stress that's being injected into?
All right, so he's looking at, the first thing I would ask as a coach, someone says, if they're on, I couldn't do, my power's way lower, I'm failing this workout. I would say, first thing is the power reading right? Because you don't want to go down, as I said at the start of you don't want to go down all these rabbit holes looking at all the different causes if it turns out your power meter was just having an off day or you haven't done a spin down on your trainer. So that's the first thing I would look at before even looking at any of these. In terms of what these were, if I quickly go back, what's he saying here? How is my sleep?
Flow chart. How is my sleep?
How is my nutrition? Agree, bad sleep can affect performance. Maybe not acutely, like if you have one bad night's sleep, it's not going to impact your performance the next day too much. It's more of a chronic thing. You're looking at more 3-4 days in a row of bad sleep, increasing your chance of illness and also having effect on performance. So I'd look more last few days of sleep, not just the night before. Nutrition as well, if you've underfueled, definitely you can be failing workouts.
How's my nutrition? How's the life stress that's being injected into my life? Was this workout uniquely hard or different than what I'm used to? Was it back to back? I start to look for all the reasons that could have contributed to that. And then...
Okay, I agree with that. So was the workout back to back? Are you doing back to back sessions, which is going to increase the fueling demands, recovery demands, which could lead to more fatigue? Yep, agree with that. Was the workout uniquely hard? Again, I mean... Yeah, if you're on the trainer, you can fail a workout. It's harder to fail a workout on the road because your power might be a little bit lower, but you're probably not going to know if you've failed it unless you're specifically going for an exact power target. The thing with the trainer in erg mode is you can fail a workout because the thing just grinds you to a halt, your cadence drops and you failed it. So if you're failing workouts, I would also look at is the workout achievable? Maybe your threshold's set too high and that workout is just impossible because your threshold's too high or the workout just isn't made properly. So a few things that are there.
If I am failing like 4 workouts in a row, I'm taking time off. I'm not going to then try to find a workout that's hard that I can succeed at so that I can recover my pride or something. Instead, I'm going to say, oh no, I need rest. So I'm going to take some rest. But be systematic in how you break it down. What were the things that contributed to this? And that's what I would say.
Yeah, good advice at the end there. So he's saying if you've looked at everything and everything feels fine, you feel like your refueling's right, your recovery's right, the power is accurate, then yeah, you probably just need a couple of light days to freshen up, and you've probably reached that overload sort of period. Now, hopefully, if you're failing all these workouts, it's at a point in your training where you want to be failing, or you're at a high fatigue level. It's not like you're at the first week of a 3-week progression and then you're failing all your workouts. Something is wrong there. But if it's like a third build week, a sort of an overload week, and you're starting to fail your workouts, that could be a good thing. That could be something that you're looking to do, to really push yourself to the limit and go over it. So, good advice there at the end. That means you've then reached that point, stimulus has been achieved, time to have a rest and recovery. That's all for this TikTok review, just those 4 we're looking through there. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you next time.